Bloomberg reported the announcement in a less than enthusiastic manner. It says, "This is the latest round of sanctions in a series of restrictions that have tried to cripple Russia and so far failed." Bloomberg is telling us that sanctions are failing. But Wally Adeyemo, who is Deputy Secretary of the U.S. Treasury, wrote a rather entertaining and just flat-out embarrassing piece for the Financial Times, in which he says, the U.S. is ready to impose sanctions on foreign financial institutions when others don't. Yes, what is the reason that others don't? Unfortunately, he didn't explain that. Could it be because they know it will only hurt them? And why should they continue dealing with the collateral damage that's done to their national economies for years to come, when the right answer would be peace negotiations? Stop these sanctions, stop the war, sit down and look for a political solution. Stop using ill-equipped and poorly trained Ukrainian men who were forcefully kidnapped off of the streets, who are just hoping to survive and have no desire to go to war. In the article that is written by Deputy Secretary of the U.S. Treasury and published by the Financial Times, you won't really find any logical reasoning or details as to what precisely this new executive order aims to accomplish. For the Financial Times, a quite reputable resource, publishing something as poorly written as this should be embarrassing. For example, this announcement makes clear that those financing and facilitating the transactions of goods that end up on the battlefield will face severe consequences. Now, this begs the question, what does Wally Adeyemo think about Gaza and those that do facilitate the murder of innocent civilians, thousands of children? Unfortunately, he didn't address the elephant in the room, and I know many of us would love to hear him address this important question. He then goes on to say, stop all transactions from customers selling critical goods. Otherwise, you will risk losing access to the U.S. financial system. New round of sanctions include measures that block banks' access to correspondent banks in the United States. For the first time ever, these new rules impose secondary sanctions, such as penalties on banks for doing business with sanctioned firms. According to Adeyemo, now the United States can target financial institutions directly in cases where officials don't get cooperation from foreign governments on enforcing sanctions. This is the key here. Foreign banks by default are entities that should strictly adhere to the rules of their government, not a foreign government. How would we feel if our banks in the United States were sanctioned for any reason by any other foreign country, especially if it served their foreign policy agenda and not ours?